Right. Hello, everybody who's left. Because I know it's been a long day, and also my main thing, coming from Britain, I wasn't actually sure that I was going to make it, to be honest. The weather outside is so amazing that just working out of here yesterday was torture. So I just wanted to be on the beach. But let us chat about Collaboration 2.0 and the future of work. Now, everything that you've heard has been super interesting, but it has mainly focused on ICOs, on the possibilities, on what you could possibly do. And I want to take that one step further with some very practical examples and very practical applications of blockchain technology in terms of how it may change the way we collaborate, how it may change the way we organize, what we work on, how it will influence what we do with our time and the rewards that we get for it. A little bit of background. The Bounties Network is a project that I work on. It is part of Consensus. For everybody who doesn't know what Consensus is, it is a company set up by Joseph Lubin, who co-founded Ethereum, and essentially aside the consultancy arm that you've heard about before, it is also a venture studio. And what that means is it creates projects, incubates them, and basically tests, tries, and sees what practical applications can be done on Ethereum. So businesses on the blockchain, this is a very good example of something everybody can copy to explain blockchain to their friends, their colleagues, their, I don't know, in-laws, people who basically do not understand what the hell you're talking about. And this is a very good example, and I think it's a very simple example, and I mention it in pretty much all of my talks. It is literally a spreadsheet that doesn't just live on my computer, it lives on everybody's computer. Everybody has the responsibility of maintaining it, and it also means that it is open to anybody with a computer and an internet connection, which actually is huge, because what this means is it immediately opens it up to a whole new world and a whole new category of people that maybe would not have the same benefits as we do, let's say in the West or in countries that have been developing for a while. And there's a whole bunch of projects that I will mention later that very much focus on this accessibility. So what it definitely isn't, it's not Bitcoin. I know there's very knowledgeable people here, but what I will say is, just as a rule, Bitcoin cannot exist without the blockchain. Blockchain can exist without Bitcoin. So that is kind of the dynamic that we all need to focus on. Again, it's something that you can tell your less knowledgeable friends and family. Ethereum, again, Vitalik put this very, very well. Think of Ethereum as a world computer. So what Bitcoin does for payments, Ethereum can do for pretty much everything else. And this is what we're experimenting with right now. This is what we're testing. This is what we are looking into in terms of any vertical. Real estate, healthcare, work, music and how artists get paid, self-sovereign identity, really expanding it and seeing what can we do. Let's break it if it doesn't work. If it doesn't work the first time, let's do a 2.0, a 3.0, a 4.0, and let's find out and refine, break, ship, redo, and so on, and test it out. And let's make sure that we can actually change the world, right? Aside all the crypto cash. So, just for business, very quickly, and this kind of applies to anything that you're doing, but the reason why I put business is obviously because we're in the business talk, and it applies to workers as well as people creating projects and owning projects. So, obviously, they're a lot less likely to fail because there's so many moving parts and so many separate components. We all know that for a change to take place, it has to be approved by more than 51%. That is huge. It's very big, and we don't speak about this enough. Harder to attack, obviously, because it's spread across many computers. So yes, I get asked this a lot by companies that I go and speak with, and they go, but surely, if it's on so many computers, surely that makes it easier. And I'm like, well, no, because if you're gonna hack, let's say, in the UK, we had a whole bunch of hacks with the NHS, the National Health Service, a whole bunch of data got lost. Why? Because it lived in one single place. And so you attack that place, you get everything that you are after. Versus if you take that one down, the blockchain still lives, right? Cut an arm off, the organism still lives. More difficult for users with malicious intent. Again, because of that consensus that is needed for changes to be made. A question that I had the other day, and I was actually chatting to a lawyer about this, and she basically said, well, what about, you know, people who will want to recreate some sort of code, and basically whatever house you bought through the blockchain, they will then, you know, change it, and it will be through the code and make it theirs. And I'm like, if you think of the current situation, you could do that on the land registry database. Like if I wanted your house, I could literally go in there, hack it, change your name, and then how do you prove that it was ever yours? Well, there's no trace, there's no record, I hit save, your house is mine. I won't do that because I like you and you did a great job with this conference. Oh no. What is happening here? Okay, so one of the things, so basically I had, let's see. Essentially, what I was going to say here is the current system, it obviously didn't transfer properly on this format of PDF, but what this was is the current status, right? The current status of work is basically freelance platforms like Fiverr, Uplands, whatever else is out there. They charge between 5 and 20% fees, right? For the freelancers who fulfill whatever work. That's kind of the standard. Plus, they kind of say, oh, okay, those fees are to make things more secure, to make sure that we don't get scammers. You still get scammers, because I can easily say that this particular design, I made it, but I actually just stole it from Dribbble. Who's gonna check it? I don't know. I could make a hell of a lot of money before somebody catches me. And also, if they kick me off, I just create a new Gmail account and I'm back in. 9-to-5 model, still very dominant across the world. Go to an office, do your job, then, you know, just keep doing that. Strict office work policies and so on. And it's basically an environment that just promotes this separation, these silos, these very enclosed kind of segments that you go, okay, I'm in Croatia, so I'm likely going to have a job in Croatia, versus let me tap into the global work market and I could work from here, but really participate in any project possible. So this is what the blockchain way, it basically, because it has all of these kind of attributes, you are able to be a lot more flexible in what you choose. The fact that you can go beyond location and even beyond currencies to make sure that you put your skills and your time into meaningful projects. And we'll discover what those are. Obviously, this means, again, because of the technology, you have the cheaper fees, the cross-platform operability, and we'll touch on this in a second. And obviously, this means the power is back on each and every one of us. So for some people, that can be a little bit daunting, right? Because finding a job and finding a project now is on you. So if you want to work and want to participate in the global job market, go and do it, right? Find these projects, and I will show you, just give you one of the examples of how you could do this. Now, the future of work, decentralized applications. You've heard it many, many times, and it is these applications that live, primarily the ones I'm talking about are on Ethereum, and these are the things that we're working on to make sure that we change the way things are being done. And changing the way we can access all of this work. What you need to know, work on the blockchain, again, it is on you, and then how you participate into this new emerging job market. Again, a little bit about smart contracts. I'm sure you guys know them, but that's basically an illustration of it for everybody who doesn't know. That's kind of what it looks like. You put all of the specifications in there. And in terms of a work project, you can have in there everything that you, as a worker or as somebody who sets up this project, needs to have for that particular project or task to be fulfilled, right? You can have what the end date is, you can have how much tokens you're willing to pay for it, you can have what the requirements are, you can have anything, any collateral, it all lives in there, and it basically means that as soon as you have fulfilled those requirements and your submission is accepted, you get paid, which is very different from what we have nowadays, again, on the freelance platforms, for instance, where you potentially don't know from the beginning if the people have the money to pay you. You're kind of going on blind trust. I hope they do, so I'm going to do this work. But as anybody who has ever worked on a project or on a freelance thing, it's a bit like this. Maybe I wait a month, maybe I wait 3, maybe I wait 6, maybe I never get the money. So you're constantly in this uncertain scenario, but with this, what you have as a major game changer, you have the money is staked from the beginning, and as soon as the submission for that task is completed, the money is yours. And I've tested this with quite a few people who participate in the Bounties network, and I mean, the payment took something ridiculous like 2 seconds, right, for the tokens to go into the fulfiller's wallet. This guy's an actual user. He's lovely. His name is Pete. He is a graphic designer. And it really shows, what I want to show with this is that it isn't just about developers. And I think it's been, we've talked about it a lot, and developers are awesome, and we love them, and they create amazing stuff, but blockchain is not just limited to these amazing people. There's a whole world of amazing people that could put their skills and use their skills on the blockchain and on blockchain projects. The way to get started now, and this is something that I always try to tell people, particularly the ones who think, oh, the applications for blockchain everything is in kind of this weird planning mode and nothing is really happening, right? There's so much happening, and there's so much happening that is available now for you to poke around in, get stuff done in, and it's not something that you need to wait till 2030 or when we're, run by robots or anything like that. You can get started literally now or as soon as you leave this room or as you're doing it. So this here is MetaMask. What MetaMask does is it gives you access to all of the different decentralized apps that are available now. This is your key to all of these apps. What you need to do is you literally go on the MetaMask website. You've got the video there that will tell you, I don't know what that thing behind it is, but anyway. You have it there. It will tell you exactly what to do. All you need to do is download the extension in Chrome. For those of you who already have it, I apologize. But it's super, super simple. It will take you all of 10 minutes. And what that does is it will take you through every step that you need to create your key and then access all of these decentralized apps. I won't talk about wallets. We've covered this already. So a concrete example, because I did say that I was going to give you one. So the Bounties Network is the main project that I work on right now. What it is basically a network that works with bounties. Now, you will have heard of bounties, but mainly, again, from a development perspective. Bounties for code, bounties for bugs, bounties for knowledge bases. The truth is, you can apply that same format to a whole bunch of different verticals, because all it is, it's a reward given for the completion of a task. If you can think of anything that you could create as a task, as a project, this forum can achieve that for you. So one of the examples would be, let's say, just some of the things that we're working on right now, research for mental health. You can do a series of bounties that will take you from research to actually developing a potential short list of products or of technologies that can then be turned into active decentralized apps. It can also be applied to, let's say, an environmental challenge. If I want to clean up one of Split's beaches, for instance, and I want to incentivize people to do it, you can organize it this way, incentivize them with some tokens, and get it done. It's very, very low kind of effort, but big impact. And so this is something that I'm super keen on. So imagine this whole full-time job and then the bounty scenario. This works for devs, for a lot of devs right now, but it could technically work for anyone. Let's say I'm in Croatia and I'm going to be here for a month. I want to see what else is available in Croatia whilst I'm here. Maybe I want to do a cleanup, maybe I want to do some sort of community engagement, maybe I want to teach some people, some kids to code. I can see all of these projects happening, and depending on my availability, depending on how much I'm going to get paid, I can choose to work on them. So then I'm back in charge of my time, of my skills, of how I earn things. And the reason why that happens is because of this very simple dynamic. A bounty gets created, a bounty gets fulfilled, and you get immediate payment. Right now, no fees, because again, the effort that I need to make to maintain that and to make sure it happens is very low. There's no point in my charging you fees because the safety is already there through the nature of the blockchain. The creation of the bounties and the fulfilling of the bounties is actually very, very simple. And so this, for instance, is a live bounty that I use for example purposes because I think it's a very easy one to do. I've asked this at several different conferences like ETH Denver, and we're going to do it at Ethereal, which is the main consensus conference in May in New York. And it's, if you could create a bounty for anything in the world, what would it be? We had answers anything from oh, I would create a token for anybody who verifiably saves a life, to saving the rainforest, that's something somebody else would bounty. We even had some guys saying, well, actually it was Alex from Grid Plus, I think, said he would incentivize George R.R. Martin to write the last book in the Game of Thrones, so we finally have you know, our resolution. So this is something that does two things. It enables people to interact with a live decentralized app and also earn some ETH. What this can also do is, and one of the main people who filled this in for me was actually, who completed this was a kid who is an Iraqi refugee. He lives in Dubai right now. He just joined our community on Slack because he read about a piece that I had written about social impact bounties. And he basically said to me, look, I'm in the process of setting up MetaMask. I will submit this. It took him 2 weeks. And so he managed to somehow get through Coinbase that wasn't available at the time in Dubai and so on. But anyway, he managed to get MetaMask done. He managed to you know, record himself. He did say, I did do 6 takes because I wasn't happy. But finally, he submitted it. And the main thing he said to me, actually, in the end, it was super easy. Because once you have a very detailed description of what you want to achieve through that particular task and through that particular project, the people who fulfill it know exactly what they need to do. Yes, you can work in a couple of rounds of amends if it's a particularly you know, complex task, let's say. But the idea is that as soon as I accepted his submission, he had that 0.02 ETH in his wallet. And it also means that now, because he has MetaMask, he can access all of these other decentralized apps, the ones that are live. So I know I breezed through that because I think we are at the end of a long day. And I also really like for people to ask questions because I think it's so much more important than my kind of rattling on and maybe not talking about stuff that that's really interesting for you guys. So if there are any, let me know. I would love to answer them. And I'd also love for you guys to check out Bounties Network, install MetaMask, check it out. And there's a whole, currently we have 150 live bounties. They range from beginner code to graphic design to translations to, I think we've got some social impact ones coming. So have a little look. Yes.
I have a lot of questions.
Tell me. Number one.
The first is about reputation system, if there's something like that. The second is about conflicts. So
Yeah.
I can say I deliver, but the other side say I didn't.
Yeah.
So who will solve that issue?
Yeah.
And also you mentioned that it's good for me because I will receive my payment in real time.
Yes.
But from the other side, they need to freeze their money for weeks or for months. So this is not good for business. How do you want to solve this problem?
So let's start with the last one and work our way back. So with the amount that gets staked at the beginning, and I've had this question before, and people went, well, you know, the way companies pay, they might not have all the money at the beginning and so on. Do a few different bounties. Do them in stages. Break a project down. It's easily done, and you can then have this kind of very balanced relationship with whomever is working on your project, that you're okay, you have the money to pay, and they're okay, they know they're getting paid. And then we're actually planning on one of these as well, just part of a project that's too big to hold in one, because there's so many specs, and it will be so many people having to submit, so that you break it down into sections. Like, let's say, almost like you would do a website, right? You do the dev first, you do this, and then you break it down and just make sure that you specify part 2, almost like you do in a tweet, 1 of 2 or 1 of 3 and so on, and make sure that people know there are several different sections. So that enables less kind of cost from the start. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but there is that the person decides to stop after like 2 bounties, and then I need to find another one.
It's still, so the bounty is open until it is fulfilled, right? So as long as, I mean, somebody else could come along and finish it.
But we're talking about, for example, you give the example of website. So I'm a developer, so if you start writing a project,
yes,
and then someone else replaces you, then you need some more time to do this.
so what we've seen done before is a couple, 2 or 3 developers can work on one project, and it will be separate people. We've done it with our own, like with the Bounties Network. We often outsource what we're doing to our community. So let's say my Getting Started guide, somebody in our community created that, because I've just went, okay, this is something that I need. If the person who started it, obviously it needs to be, that particular task needs to be fulfilled. But if somebody drops it, then somebody else will pick it up. Do you see what I mean? It's kind of this very fluid way of doing things, because if you're constantly opening it up to a whole pool of work, it will get finalized. And you will potentially have a deadline on it, but it will get completed. So it doesn't have to be the same person. If they decide that actually they're not interested anymore. So that's one. What was the second one?
About reputation.
So reputation, that will be very much determined, and actually there's another project that Consensus is working on, which is UPort, which is the sovereign identity, which will have that reputation inbuilt in it. So MetaMask doesn't really have it. With UPort, what you will be able to do is see the full list of accreditation, who these people are, what they have done, where they are, what their portfolio is, and so on, all in that address. And that's what we will, when they are fully live, we're waiting for them to do a few more tests, but that will solve that. Because particularly in terms of portfolios and things like that, you really want all of those to be on the blockchain and make sure that copyright situation that we get so many times is no longer an issue. And yes, disputes, that was the other one. So disputes, we are again working on a platform. We haven't got the name for it yet, but essentially what that will do is very much look at the Delphic method and improve it so that you will have arbitration built in, so that if it escalates, you can move it to arbitration, so that none of the, there isn't a standstill, basically.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I have 5 minutes, apparently. Yes.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
With the cryptocurrencies, you have some degree of anonymity, depending on the currency, and in the case of smart contracts, you write a contract, what needs to be done, and it will automatically be, when the test is fulfilled, it will be paid out. How can we stop the dangerous smart contracts? For example, someone wants to DDoS your site or do something malicious, and they describe it anonymously, and someone anonymous can fulfill it, and boom. It's a pretty good market for black market operations, if you understand what I mean.
So yes, I do. So one of those things will again go to that reputation, right? So you will be able to, like MetaMask does this very, very well with malicious sites and ads. So it's actually building a blacklist where if you have the extension on your browser and you go across like any ads or it takes you to any websites, it will flag that it's malicious. And we can apply the same kind of principle to addresses that we can see have a bad reputation. Right now, because it's a little bit more manual, verifying everything, we can still manage it by, making sure that it doesn't breach the parameters of the bounty description, right? When we can automate it and make it spin so that it literally denies and it doesn't allow the activation of anything malicious, again, MetaMask or Uport will have this flagging thing. Because you have to, that kind of level of protection will be sorted through the reputation aspect of it. Again, with it being a little bit more manual right now, we can manage it without the automation, but in time you will have to because the volume will be too large. Awesome. Thank you, guys.